Okay, hello. I was assigned to Group A for the case study. And so my student's profile, her name was Jill. She is a second grader, and she transferred from a new school due to her parents' work relocation. It said that she did not have a file that came along with her from her other school yet, and so all they knew was that she read fluently at a level of 1.8, which meant she's at about a first grade level in the eighth month. So she's not quite where she needs to be for second grade, fluency wise. It says that she is also one grade level behind in her writing abilities as well. And I think that those, correlate, kind of go hand in hand with that. It says that she verbally communicates well and uses strong vocabulary when she's speaking to peers and other people. She also seems to struggle with comprehending reading in social studies and science, like content areas where there might be a little bit more vocab involved that she wouldn't regularly know right off the bat, things like that. And it said that her parents also mentioned that she used to work with a special teacher, or an aide or something at her other school. And so all of the things that we have, so far right off the bat, were things that that we've observed from just having her in class so far, because, like I said, we didn't have a file that came along with her right away. So what I've taken right off the bat from what information we have is that her main struggles are reading at grade level with fluency. That's the biggest thing, probably. And then her comprehension within content areas, and then her ability to pay attention. It also mentioned that she has a hard time paying attention and being focused for longer periods of time, and she can't really stay on task that well. And so I feel like those all make sense together, even though that information's really vague. It makes sense because if she's unable to read fluently at her text level that she should be at, while she's reading, she's just focusing on trying to get those words correct, and she's not being mindful of what a story is about or what a passage is actually saying. And so that would definitely get in the way and hinder her ability to comprehend. And along with that, if she's not comprehending and she's not able to read fluently, um, going through this process would be really frustrating. And so that might have to do with her ability to sit and focus and pay attention for longer periods of time as well. And so I totally get how that might be frustrating for her. And so they all kind of, it's like a circle. And so I thought that with interventions, we would need to kind of start at the base with that fluency piece and really work up from there and build that foundation a little bit stronger, and so that she can begin to succeed more with the comprehension and with the like focusing and vocabulary, understanding, all of those things. And so the purpose behind all of that is to improve these areas, really get her feeling more confident and comfortable reading, and hopefully get her caught up to the fluency level that she should be at for her grade level texts. And so I have two interventions based upon the assessment that I would have done. The assessment is, I chose DIBBLES, the oral reading fluency. And so these are just passages. She would have one given passage, and it would be a minute long that she would read for, and then I would base the correcting and scoring of that on how many words that she was able to read in the given time, the mistakes she made, if she hesitated or made substitutions within that passage, and how well she was able to perform, and how fluently, just as me observing, how well that went for her, and how fluent and confident she looked and felt, and just the actual score that would be based on, with all of those aspects I already mentioned. So then from there, I created these two activities. The first one is the technology-based activity. And so I thought that I'm a big poetry fan, and so I really like to incorporate that whenever I can into lessons. And so I thought that I would find some pretty simplistic, grade level, appropriate second grade text poems And so I have one right here. In the interest of saving paper, I did not print it off. I just have it on my iPad here. And this is what the passage reads. So I would have her read this passage, for example, but there would be lots of options. I would have her read this passage, practice it, practice with the rhyming and reading it fluently, getting really good at it, becoming familiar with the words, and so she can read with rhythm and rhyme and pace that makes sense. So here's the passage that I chose for this example. It says, "Who wants a pancake, sweet and piping hot? Good little Grace looks up and says, 'I'll take the one on the top.' Who else wants a pancake, fresh off the griddle? Terrible Teresa smiles and says, 'I'll take one in the middle.'" And so that's a Shel Silverstein poem. And so that's from Where the Sidewalk Ends. And so I think that's really cool because students get excited about this, and when there's rhyming and kind of a fun scheme within it, they don't mind doing these activities. And then also, so from that activity, she would read, rehearse that poem, and then log into her Seesaw. I have this up on my iPad. I don't know if you can see it that well. Yep. And I'll just take a second to sign in here with my Google. So anyways, the student, so Jill, would take that, she would rehearse it, and then on Seesaw you can record yourself. And so she would record herself after practicing, record it on this app. And what I've found is that students don't mind doing this as much because they get to use technology. It's kind of fun. They like to hear themselves. They like to record themselves and look back. And then from there, she could either, depending on the time limitation, she could either keep the first one or look back, reflect, and then say, oh, here's what I need to do. I don't sound like I'm reading fluently. It doesn't make sense like a person would talk. It sounded too mechanical or something like that. And so then she can adjust from there. And the cool thing about Seesaw is that you can share it with your family then too. And so they can see, and so then there's that aspect of, trying their best, and they know that their family will see it. So that's a really cool aspect of it as well. So that was my main part for the technology, but also there are lots of other poems or, different passages that they could use, practice, rehearse that, and then put it into a recording system like that. And then review themselves and kind of reflect on how they can improve. And so I think that would be really helpful for Jill, the purpose behind that being the fluency piece, and then getting her just rehearsing and speaking because she's strong in conversationally. She just can't quite apply that to reading fluently at the grade level she should be at. And so then the second activity that I included in this is the Berenstain Bears and the Messy Room. So I love these books. I think they're great, and I think kids enjoy them a lot, and so that's why I incorporated this book. And so for this, I would have her listen to the book on audio tape because this activity is mainly for more of her comprehension, and this is a little bit above where she is going to be at as far as reading fluently, so that's why I thought she should listen to it on an audiobook, really just be able to take in the information and make sure that she's grasping these things. And so I would have her listen to that one time, and then I will have these strips for her, and they're different events. So I think I have 7 of them here. So not too many because it's second grade. I don't want to overwhelm her and the process. So after she listens to that, I would have her take these and put them in the correct order that she thinks they are. And then I would have her listen to the audio tape one more time. And so if she would need to make a change in the order of events, she can do that. And so after she makes those final changes, after listening to the second time, she will number them in sequential order of what she thinks is correct. And then I will have her either tape or glue down on a separate sheet of paper just the order. And so then this way it's a really hands-on activity. She's getting to use markers, tape, glue. It's more of a fun activity for her, and she gets to listen. And in my experience, kids really like listening to audiobooks, especially when they're excited about the book. And like I said, I think this is a really good one. But there would be a plethora of options for her to choose from or to change up as these lessons go along. And so I would use that final sheet that she glued on her sequence as kind of a formative assessment. And it's really informal. It's more of just her doing an activity, but I could use that to see where she's at with comprehension, if she's just listening and doesn't have to focus on that fluency piece. And then if she can do that really well, I know it's more of a reading and getting her up to that fluency level and that like vocabulary understanding level, and it's not so much she can't comprehend. And so at that level, I think that that would be a really good activity, and a way of being able for me as the teacher to see where she's at with that. And so, and also, since all we got for the information from the beginning was just things that we've observed, along with a couple other little things that we learned from her past school, I think that I would just use both of those activities as an opportunity for me to observe her and see how well she does, what she struggles with, if she asks questions on certain aspects of everything. So yeah, I think that those two activities integrated together, maybe over like a week of just letting her kind of work through those a couple of times with a couple of different, poetry passages or books, could be a really strong tool. And then I'm just going to look at my lesson plan here, make sure I'm not missing anything. So these lessons are both, they're kind of independent work, but they're really interactive. There's room for differentiation. They kind of align with the goals that I initially set after that Dibbles assessment. And I think the technology really enhances the lesson here as well, because you can really use that to your advantage and students enjoy using it. And so with the limited information that we had on her, I thought that both of these activities would work really well with the stage that she seems to be at, and then the ultimate goal and the purpose of these would be to get her up to that grade level, second grade, kind of halfway through the year mark where she should be. And so really just working on those basic foundational skills and helping her to get up. And hopefully, it seems like she's not too behind, so hopefully we can just really boost her and help and support her learning, and she should be able to catch up and hopefully improve with these activities and the assessments and integration of, all these different aspects.